from rationality and a recognition that our emotions and what we feel is just as important. It's an insight, it's an intuition, it's an important part of making decisions and organizing our work.
Very good, thank you. That was an excellent question, as they all have been.
Yes.
And we're going to move into our last question, if we may, from the Panama Canal Commission in Panama. So we'd welcome the question.
Okay. Good morning. We would like to know, how can this concept be applied in a federal government agency which has an extensive regulatory system?
Okay, let's do two things here. Briefly, Ms. Poindexter, you've integrated a program into an existing structure organizationally and where there have been regulations from a government. Mm-hmm. And what were your findings in that regard?
There was not an exclusion. There wasn't anything about that created problems for me. So I'm not able to really address it from a situation that would have inherently implied restrictions in some form. We were very, as I said, blessed because it was embraced from a higher level. So.
Good. Dr. Geist, briefly?
You know, that's a tough one for me because I haven't necessarily worked in that kind of organization or consulted in that type of organization. But to answer it briefly, I guess I would say that there are, in any organization, a number of systems that could impact regulations on the work that we do. If it's not a governmental agency, if it's a medical agency, if it's an educational organization, that there's always some kind of regulations that govern what we do. And I think spirituality and well-being is something, as we've said over and over, is initiated personally and moves out from there. And so you can't think of it necessarily as competing with the structures that are imposed from above.
Very good. Yeah. Thank you both for those, and thank you all for your excellent questions. Let us begin now with Module 2, in which Ms. Poindexter will review the applied aspects of recognizing the need for designing and implementing an organization's wellness program.
Thank you. As you have learned, I served as the regional wellness facilitator for one of the nation's largest utility companies, the Southern California Gas Company, since 1991. I have just recently retired after 32 years with the company. Prior to 1991, I had held a variety of accounting positions. Downsizing and right-sizing had been a way of life at the company since the mid to late 80s. We went from approximately 10,000 employees down to the current 5,500. The emotional toll was devastating for all of us. This type of organizational change can occur in any organization around the world, even on a recurring basis, especially with the intense changes we will continue to see in the areas of technology and with innovative products in the future. The wellness concept at my company was first introduced as an innovative pilot program in 1991. It has been one of the most positive benefits to emerge from this exceedingly stressful time. Why do companies such as mine consider instituting programs such as wellness? My belief is that these types of programs demonstrate that the company values its employees. A healthy wellness program benefits the company as well as the employees. Healthy employees take fewer sick days. They don't cost as much to insure, are generally happier and more productive workers. And a wellness program is good for recruiting and retaining employees. Many employers who have had programs in place since the early 80s have documented a reduction in health care costs. Savings vary, but can amount to as much as 3 or more times the program costs. My company's wellness objective was expressed as follows: The program is designed to encourage employees' well-being and to support the long-term wellness objective of the company. In addition, wellness will increase value to the customer by providing employees and their families with wellness programs to improve their mental and physical well-being, thereby resulting in improved customer service. I was told that the motivation for this came about from the personal experiences of the Vice President of Human Resources. He had recently suffered heart problems and was forced to reconsider his former way of life and embrace a vigorous, full-on change of life agenda. His passionate zeal for exercise, nutrition, and stress reduction techniques inspired others in the organization. This is a prime example of how one person can make a difference. I enthusiastically volunteered to be included in this groundbreaking project, which, by the way, I performed in addition to my regular accounting duties at the time. I saw this program as a great way to combine my holistic beliefs and lifestyle with my everyday working environment. When I say holistic, I'm referring to wholeness, not just physical, but emotional and spiritual as well. What a wonderful opportunity for someone like me. During the following 2 years, I continued in my regular job. Plus, I was able to form and conduct weekly regional wellness committee meetings comprised of approximately 20 volunteer members from our regional base and payment office locations. Our accomplishments were surprising and really opened the door to future successes for us. I planned for the company to hold 2 major health expositions. One of them featured over 100 vendors and was attended by over 1,100 people. We established an employee walking and bicycle club. We set up and maintained wellness literature displays at 9 base and payment office locations. We arranged for local discounted amusement park and movie tickets. We introduced lunchtime wellness speakers and video presentations and instituted a program whereby co-workers could seek certain types of health care assistance on an individual basis. In 1993, organizationals were afoot again, and this time it really affected me. My current accounting position was centralized and physically relocated several cities farther away from my home. I was offered the option of being allowed to stay at my current location with the understanding that my job duties would all change. It became a very easy decision to stay. At that time, I already had proven myself as a successful wellness project manager and event coordinator. More and more similar activities were coming my way, and in a short time, it became my full-time job. I should note that this position does not officially appear anywhere in the company job descriptions, nor does it exist in the same way at any other region. The fact is, I've actually created this job by showing what I could do and by being willing to do it in addition to my normal workload, at least in the beginning. The original volunteer work I did really helped to position me advantageously when the changes eventually came. I believe this was one of the keys to the institutionalization of the wellness program. Okay, I now have my dream job. All is smooth, right? Well, not exactly. Yes, there were a few obstacles along the way. Corporate-level attitudes can be challenging. Here are some of the reactions that are often encountered from managers and employees of that old school of thought. This sort of program is inappropriate in the workplace, and that health is a personal rather than a work issue. Activities and events held on company time take away from productivity. There is also a feeling that work is inherently hard and basically unpleasant, and that if people are enjoying themselves, then they have too much time on their hands and should be given more work to do. I have also found that many believe that this sort of program is not justifiable financially, as there are no statistics to prove that there will be any tangible benefits to the company. It is felt that such a program is all fluff and no substance. And finally, some fear that employees will take advantage of such a program and use it as an excuse to get out of work. These attitudes must be looked at for what they are: residual fears from a time when our parents' generation believed and taught us acceptance and therefore happiness was to be found in suffering. A very personal obstacle that I had to overcome in my own development for the wellness program was being able to identify my own limiting fears. When I volunteered to be the wellness coordinator for our region, I was excited and fearful at the same time. I worried about what would happen if the program was not accepted. The program and the personal I, my ego, are interchangeable here. I had a deep fear of rejection. I tried to determine how attached I was to the success of these events, and whether I would personally be okay if very few people participated. I wondered, how could I have the best chance at success? And how was I defining success? I asked myself whether I needed to be a trained specialist in the field of health and wellness in order to be taken seriously. Finally, I wondered if who I was enough, and whether I would have the courage to ask for what I wanted and needed in order to have my ideas put into action. Obviously, the recognition of these fears gave me the information I needed to make the necessary changes in my thinking. I could now challenge these phantom demons within myself and redefine who I was, and that's exactly what I did. Fear is the most primal motivator, but is it really different on a personal level from that of a larger group consciousness? I believe it is the same. How about spirituality? How is relaxation and confidence developed in us? I always find comfort in keeping it simple and accepting that the only area of influence that I have any jurisdiction over is that of my own thoughts. I know that the thoughts I have do make a difference. I know that these thoughts, when taken to the spoken word, have additional power, and that when taken into action, will actually create manifestation. I believe that the answer to healing is the same for both personal and collective fears, and must come from within me. Okay then, how did I dismantle the fear-based mechanism in place in both my personal and outside worlds? The answer, of course, was within. I believe that there was basically no difference between my fears and those expressed outside of me. This made performing my job a lot easier. I could now focus on what was going on internally and make the appropriate changes to my belief system. I might also add at this point that my ego has always been my greatest nemesis. I'm very sensitive to how I can get into my own way. A red flag I watch out for is my own attachments and expectations. These limiting, ego-based concepts have been the kiss of death to progress for many people in the past. Being attached to an outcome or having limiting expectations will often inhibit opportunity. We should replace it with the thought, want everything and need nothing. A mechanism that is common in all of us and which is at the root of all fear is a fundamental concern about being loved and cared about. This mechanism transcends all cultures and personality types. To begin the healing process, that is, to heal my stress caused by fear, I realized that I must change my thoughts to align with my vision. It's very important to understand how the process works. I would like to take a moment and share a model that I learned about in metaphysical studies some time ago, and I found very useful. It's called above-the-line thinking. The middle line represents thoughts with neutral value. They're neither fearful nor loving. This is the fulcrum point of power. Notice that the area just above the middle line contains the description, playing not to win. Even in this state, the focus is still on winning, even if the desire is to not win. It reminds me of a movie that Eddie Murphy starred in, where in order for him to inherit millions of dollars, he needed to lose or spend $1 million in 30 days. Because he was so intent on not winning, the money continued to increase no matter how badly he tried to invest it or how hard he tried to give it away. Unfortunately, the way most of us live our lives is in the playing not to lose arena. This way of thinking will continue to reinforce that losing concept and keep us shackled to a reality we don't prefer. We must realize that beliefs are only judgment constructs. They can be changed. The tools needed to change belief patterns are as follows. First, willingness and commitment. Next, enthusiasm and passion. If you believe in something, your energy becomes magnetic. Third, we must realize that we have the choice of redefining who we are, relevant to each experience. In other words, we would ask ourselves, am I being the highest vision of myself? Fourth, we should ask ourselves, am I coming from a loving feeling or from fear? And finally, we should ask ourselves, is what I am doing and being ego or fear-based, or for the highest good of all concerned? In my case, I had a vision of wanting to help people, beginning with my colleagues at work, by using this program to offer positive lifestyle choices. The word choice was a clear message to me that my job was not to insist, but rather to provide a program of attraction. The power behind any accomplishment is having a clear vision and keeping that focus. However, the process of accomplishment usually contains unexpected surprises. I offer the following words of guidance as gems that are worth considering during this process. Loosen the grip. Pray for guidance. Be willing to take action when moved to do so. And always try to be extra sensitive to appropriate timing. Okay then, now that I've discussed the mechanism to some extent, let me share with you some of the wonderful and extraordinary accomplishments of our wellness program. From the very beginning, there was always an open-door policy to allow for the free flow of suggestions. Responsiveness to that feedback has helped to guide our course. A company-wide stretching program evolved directly from this process. For several years, we were able to include a voluntary stretching program for employees on company time. There was a lot of resistance to such a radical idea being introduced. It was so unlike our company to offer such a thing. Successfully implementing the program was a giant win for us. Because of its unorthodox nature, it opened the door for other holistic and non-traditional ideas. By the way, in some cases, it may be very helpful to enlist the services of a specialized professional consulting firm to guide you along and answer concerns as they come up. Some questions that were commonly asked regarding our stretching program were, why does this really help reduce employees' injuries, for example, sprains and strains? What if I already have back problems? Will this aggravate my condition? It's recommended having a professional address these types of concerns. I've heard that Japan has a stretching program for years. Is that true? The answer is yes, by the way. Another example is an on-site chair massage program where a professional masseuse comes into our office once a week and gives 15-minute neck and shoulder massages to employees. This is paid for by the employee and is scheduled during work breaks or lunchtime. Other successful programs have included demonstrations of Tai Chi, yoga, acupuncture, aromatherapy, herbology, and Reiki healing techniques. Recreational activities have also been popular and successful. These types of events present great opportunity to host a health fair activity as well. Some examples of ongoing activities are family and employee softball tournaments, company family picnics, sponsored motorcycle charity rides, on-site art gallery displaying a variety of employees' artistic and poetic works, including photography, holiday family dinner dances, a video lending library supported by employee donations, and discounted tickets and group discounts for amusement parks, movie theaters, and local theatrical productions. Caring for the whole person is essential here. The goal is to reduce feelings of separation without infringing on individuality. It is important to keep in mind that individual privacy can be a very sensitive issue. It has been my experience, however, that people are more receptive towards wellness programs when they are presented as choices rather than as mandates. It's important here to promote the enhanced quality of life benefits that we as individuals can derive from making certain lifestyle changes. Try to avoid being perceived as the parent telling the employee what is good for them. As in the case of the individual's healing through mind, body, and spirit integration, so also it is possible to extend this holistic approach to our various life roles. These can include viewing ourselves as family versus employees, or viewing ourselves through ideas that we have in common instead of those that separate us. In my company, we were able to implement more conventional health programs more easily. The benefits seemed to be more obvious, and also people felt that they were in greater harmony with that conservative belief of what is acceptable, or at least appropriate. What we do not understand, we tend to fear. Western medicine has until very recently shied away from accepting any form of alternative healing practice. This limiting attitude is slowly changing. In fact, in a previous ITC video conference, viewers learned about the ancient 5,000-year-old Chinese healing practice of Qigong. In Western medicine, the emphasis has traditionally been on fixing symptoms through the use of medicine or drugs and surgery. In Qigong therapy, the focus is shifted to discovering the root cause of ailments and to balancing the body, life force, energy. The Chinese believe that healing must take place not only in the physical, but also in the mind, emotion, and spirit, since all are connected and work in tandem. Communication is of the utmost importance to a successful venture. I was very fortunate to have the blessings of upper management from the start. Therefore, the trickle-down effect was in my favor, and middle and lower management were for the most part cooperative. I learned early on, however, to do my homework before presenting any ideas for their approval and support. Oftentimes, there are conflicts between their willingness to support these well-meaning programs and what they consider a more pressing need to meet production quotas or scheduling deadlines. Whenever possible, it's important to strive for a win-win situation. Let members of management know what you would like to do and exactly what you are asking of them. Be flexible. Ask them whether health events can be held during lunch and break times without interfering with production. Are there times or cycles during the month when work demand is slower? Be opportunistic. Perhaps you can piggyback a wellness event with some other regularly scheduled meeting. Don't be afraid to ask managers for help in finding a solution. Besides the obvious benefit, this can actually create a feeling of partial ownership in your event among them. Our larger corporate health program has always been present as a backup to a local effort and is primarily responsible for developing some of the larger scope components. However, coordination would usually be done locally. Some of the programs that the company supported at the corporate level include a physical fitness subsidy program, where the company would pay half of an employee's monthly dues up to a certain maximum. A company-wide stretching program, which I discussed more detail earlier, free annual flu shots, earthquake and violence counseling, an employee assistance program, wellness literature displays, a central lending library, and a monthly wellness publication which was customized from a version of the Hope Heart Institute publication. Let me explain how a sample health promotion event might go. There would be a lunchtime health fair accompanied possibly by a short neighborhood walkathon and a few health screenings. You would decorate with a lot of balloons and provide sliced oranges and finisher ribbons for the walkathon participants. Different departments in the organization should get their employees to sign up as volunteers to help at different stations. If you have an employees club already, invite them to provide the food as a fundraiser. The more employees that are involved in some way, the better your participation will be. It's contagious. A good and usually free resource for you are the local health providers in your area, such as community hospitals, health maintenance organizations, chiropractors, health and fitness clubs, etc. Does your organization provide employee health coverage? If so, that provider is a great resource for your wellness events. Invite them to attend your event and, in exchange for allowing them to display their promotional information, ask them to provide some form of health screening to the employees, such as checking blood pressure, cholesterol screening, body fat analysis, hearing, eye examinations, skin cancer checkups, etc. You name it, the possibilities are endless. Remember to ask everyone for ideas. Encourage everyone to be involved. Share the glory. Our local, regional levels are invited to be creative. In fact, the success of the program really depends on it. The more people who have even a small bit of ownership in the program, the greater the level of participation. Make it fun. I created a one-page newsletter